Hello, I'm going to read Living in the Private. Educate yourself, ask questions, verify everything. Disclaimer notice. This content is for purposes, omissions and errors accepted and is not legal, lawful advice. All content from livingintheprivate.blogspot.com. Consent makes the law. A contract is a law between the parties which can acquire force only by consent. The burden of the proof lies upon him who affirms, not he who denies. This is the third reading from Living in the Private, and tonight I will be reading from Contents for Your Sovereignty, When You Are Born, Your Living Identity, pages 10, 13 and 17. Your sovereignty. Women are born equal sovereigns, endowed with unalienable rights, responsibilities and credit, commercial energy. Baby is born as the sovereign holder in due course of his/her private estate, comprising his/her rights, body, soul, creations, real and intellectual properties. Sovereign people living on the land can assemble to constitute a sovereign government of the people, by the people, in the common law jurisdiction. When sovereign people constitute a sovereign government using their rights already existing, they are delegating their inherent powers to their de jure government and its agencies via their oath-bound public servants. Sovereign government is established by a lawful constitution as a body politic, whereas a fictional corporation is established by legal incorporation as a body corporate. A source of law. But a government can register artificial legal persons and thereby control its own creatures of the state, with statutory contracts in the maritime jurisdiction, the law of the sea. A man or woman who contracts with the state freely or unwittingly consents to act in a public capacity as a legal person, which is controlled by the issuing authority, the state. While such a government grants privileges to artificial legal persons, it cannot grant any privileges that living men and women they have as unalienable rights. Your unalienable rights are only limited by your common law responsibilities not to harm other living people, and by your common sense responsibility toward the living earth which govern all life. Sovereignty, whose power is the source of law. Sovereignty itself is, of course, not subject to law, for it is the author and source of law. But in our system, while sovereign powers are delegated to the agencies of government, sovereignty itself, by whom and for whom all governments exist, and the law is the definition and limitation of power. Lee versus Hopkins, 118 US 356-1. People are supreme, not the state. Waring versus the Mayor of Savannah, 60 Georgia at 93. The people of the state do not yield their sovereignty to the agencies which serve, and delegating authority do not give their public servants to decide what is good for the people to know and what is not good for them to know. The people insist on remaining informed so that they may retain control over their instruments they have created. Added stats 1953 circa 1588 p 3200 section 1. The people are recognised. The people are the recognised source of all authority, state and municipal, and to this authority it must come at last, whether immediately or by such as Barnes versus District of Columbia. The state being the sovereign people. State versus Chase. The rights of individuals are not derived from government agencies, either municipal, state or federal, or even from the Constitution. They exist inherently in every man by endowment of the Creator, and are merely reaffirmed in the Constitution and restricted only by the extent that they have been voluntarily surrendered by the citizenship to the agencies of government. But states again these rights already existing, and when legislative encroachment by the nation, state and municipal invade these original and permanent rights, it is the duty of the courts to so declare and to afford the necessary relief. City of Dallas et al. The Constitution is designated as a supreme enactment, a fundamental act of legislation by the people of the state. A constitution is legislation direct from the people acting in their sovereign capacity, while a statute is legislation for their representatives, subject to limitations prescribed by the superior authority. It is not the function of a government to keep the citizen from falling into error. It is the function of the citizen to keep the government from falling into error. American Community versus Dowds. Any incorporated government in the international law of the sea is a foreign government. A sovereign government will also be a corporation, because the sovereignty is the source of law, and a corporation is a creation of law, while sovereign people, as the source of law, can create various legal fictions, including artificial persons, corporations, companies, trusts, societies, foundations, and so on. Government and its sovereign agencies are by definition unincorporated, but all central bank nations are incorporated, such that the de jure nations of the world are largely unoccupied by oath-keeping representatives of the sovereign people. De jure, common law jurisdiction, law of the land; by de facto, admiralty, maritime jurisdiction, law of the sea; interlopers, who are essentially private mercenaries administering fraudulent bankruptcies. Any incorporated government operating in the international law of the sea is foreign to the law of the land, and therefore it is a foreign government. Every sovereign man and woman oppressed in an incorporated government is a victim of treason. So we have two columns: sovereign government, foreign government; non-incorporated nation, de jure organic, body politic, nation; incorporated state, de facto, corporate, corporation; non-franchise, states, provinces, regions, counties, cities, councils, agencies, officers, etc.; franchise, states, provinces, regions, counties, cities, councils, agencies, officers, etc.; public servants, public oath of office, statutory bond; contractors, private oath, i.e. bar, surety bond; law of the land, law of the sea, foreign, international; common law, people's jurisdiction; admiralty, maritime, corporate jurisdiction; court of record, with a jury; administrative court, without a jury; lawful, rights, properties, inherent and inviolable; legal, privileges, benefits, granted and revocable; dead, living men and women; lawful, facts born naturally; dead, artificial persons; legal, fictions created artificially. You are born. When you are born, given life, a record of live birth is created as evidence of your life. The New Zealand equivalent is a notification of birth or registration. It is your affidavit of life, with details that identify your living standing. It records your given name as a unique title, i.e. John, to your estate. Your estate is the land or property of your mind, body and soul, and all the physical and intellectual property that derives from your living energy, including your inborn unalienable rights. Your mother's origin of your estate. An estate must come in common law of the land. Your mother and estate are automatically trustees in an express sovereign trust, with you as the beneficiary. You are the holder in expectancy of your estate, which will descend to you as of right when you attain the age of majority, 20, unless you must be registered thereunder. The estate is intestate for reasons undisclosed. According to ecclesiastical law, an estate can only be held in trust by a man, but your mother was asked for her maiden name, constituting maternity. It is either legitimate or natural. The former is the condition of the mother and children, while the latter is the condition of giving birth to illegitimate children. Maternity is always certain, while the paternity is only presumed. All naturally born children with uncertain fatherhoods, having no parental holder of their estate, when registering an informant unknowingly, makes an accusation as to your illegitimacy. Informant, a person who informs or prefers an accusation against another. Says, for the purpose of this act, marriage includes a void marriage, so you are legal. Moreover, your given name, title is recorded in the stillborn column. A stillborn child is one incapable of living. Do not, in fact, survive. As to rebut this presumption of law, they cannot inherit. The state can now legally claim your estate, making you a ward of the state and an estate life, foreign status trust. The estates for life created by operation of law are jointer. The estate for life is somewhat similar to the of the civil law joinder. Similar to usufruct, right to derive income from property of another. The record of life issue birth certificate bond certifying that is registered as a security. It is like a warehouse receipt for the baby. The delivered goods warehouse receipt, which is considered a document of title, may be a negotiable instrument used for financing with inventory as security. At the same time, your given name and family name have been registered as a trade name. Omissions have a last name. A legal person has been issued by the state as a franchise child of the parent corporation. The bond is sold to the World Bank, Bank of International Settlement, by the Vatican as settler of the society is calculated using actuarial tables. The bond becomes a registered security with the Treasury uses which the Treasury uses as surety for Treasury securities such as Treasury bonds, notes and bills. So you have been monetised. People truly are the credit of the nation. However, in the corrupt system, The people's credit is effectively it can seize the baby as a ward of the state as they threatened. Its greatest value is realised from the mature working adult. The proprietors of this deception know that you could one day discover the truth and invoke your power of attorney from the age of 18. A person between 18 and 20 years may do certain things, accept appointment, or act as an attorney. Has the same effect as if the person were 20-year-old. In short, you can attain age of majority 20 by declaring your own power of attorney from the age of 18. But if they can somehow kill you off, again, legally speaking, deceased estate, titles, real property, lands, personal property, life, spiritual property, soul. When you reach full legal aid under the action, which is the law of the sea, you become your estate as a vessel navigating on the sea of commerce, with you as the master, Mr., Mrs., Ms. Your vessel will have a legal person name, such as Mr. John Doe, all uppercase caps lock, tombstone text, and as the master you will be the liable owner, while the estate remains the legal title with the powers of management as a registrar. You will probably voluntarily forfeit your estate. You will start work and register as a taxpayer, or you may enroll as a voter. If you decide not to register, you have gone to sea, and if you are missing for 7 years, you are declared legally dead. The same process is applied to ships and mariners lost at sea. The Cestia v. Act 1666 simply declared that anyone is dead after an accident unless they return to claim their estate after 7 years. Intestate, so someone is appointed to manage your estate trust. The public trust applies to the family court to manage your estate under the Protection of Personal and Property Rights Act 1988, Section 11, Form PPPR 6 for order to administer property. Under the first sovereign trust established by your mother, you are the holder in due course of your estate and a future creditor. Are the executor, beneficiary of, and all oath-bound officials are your public trustees. But under the new Foreign Citizen Trust, the state gains the legal title right of possession to your estate, where the legal person only has the right of use. The legal person as a creation of the indebted state is also a debtor. Any man, woman who mistakenly takes responsibility for the legal person name and its debt steps into the role of the state as a trustee. The state has turned the tables on you. Or registration. The people, by registration, legalization, are employed by the state as debtors, banking cartel, which is upheld by a private bar association guild society. While acting in the legal fiction role of your corporised name, you will receive endless presentment bills, which that employ which that employee of the state, the legal person strawman, is obliged to settle. But the theft of your estate is based on false presumptions that cannot be proven in fact. That in order for a birth certificate to be issued, a man or woman first must have been born on the land. Plainly, you're not really dead, so you are still the living holder in due course of your estate title under the Cestia v. Act 1666. If the supposed man proves to be alive, then the title is revested. Remember that only you have a birthday on which your person has a date of birth on which it was registered by the registrar. These two events usually have different dates to print out. Thanks for tuning in. Going to end a wee bit. Apologise.